I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold.
This is where the fun begins.
Hello and welcome to Jedi Knights, the official Star Wars podcast for JoyClicks. My name is Mike Connors, and as always, I have my co-host joining me through the HoloNet, Christian Buckley. How are you, man?
I'm doing well, Mike. May the force be with you and with you all, listeners. I think I
Yes,
said
may
that
the
last
force be
week
with
too. That's the new intro for me.
Dude, well, for one thing, may the force be with you as well.
Hmm.
But whenever someone says that to me, I'm always like, and also with you.
Yeah, I'm genuflecting right now. You can't see, but
Yeah. It's kind of crazy. Like, you'd think that I would have, programmed that out of my mind by now, but
yeah, you would think as somebody who hasn't been to a mass beyond like
yeah.
an obligation in 10 years. I don't know, man. Like, if you think it would have worn off by now, but
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like it's been a really long time.
mm.
But I mean it's a similar kind of vibe, it's a similar sentiment, I think.
Yeah,
Uh
sure. There's a religion in media, always is.
I mean, yeah, like the Jedi, they're kind of religious, right? Uh,
Kinda, yeah.
hmm. Kind of like that was the whole point. No, I'm just kidding. But how you been, man? We're talking right now. It's April 28th. It's Star Wars Jedi Survivor release day.
Mm-hmm.
And just generally, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I am excited to dive in to Jedi later this evening. I'm prepared for May the 4th next week. Gonna try my best to see Return of the Jedi in theaters this weekend. Um, and also just busy with life stuff, prepping to start moving soon. So that's also stress, but Star Wars, we're still riding high off Celebration. We got plenty of things to be excited about right now. What about you? How are you doing?
Pretty good, man. I'm doing good. Also pretty excited for Survivor. Haven't started playing it yet. I think, I did cancel my pre-order because I was getting a little nervous with all the performance issues.
Yeah, I
I regret
mean,
it now.
I mean,
Uh,
if you feel like diving in, we can just bring up the first story of the week. It's Survivor's launch is kind of
yeah, I'd
botched.
love to. I'd love to. I think we might as well. Yeah, it's the big story of the day. A lot of people are saying that, a lot of PC players rather, and some on console are saying that, Star Wars Jedi Survivor is not performing to the way that they would think a AAA game should perform at launch,
Hmm.
which is, kind of fair. Uh, I guess, people with higher end PCs are having issues running it at 60 frames per second. Also, some performance issues that I've heard on PS5, right? Um, that I believe they say they're going to patch it. Maybe they
Hmm.
already have patched it. Not entirely sure, but I've
So
just been seeing a lot of drama.
yeah, for some context, it's currently sitting at an 86 on Metacritic. The PS5 version is, um, which is I believe up from Fallen Order. Fallen Order I want to say was an 82, but Fallen Order was actually 79 on PS4. So um, decent jump for Respawn here,
Yeah.
and unfortunate because Fallen Order also felt like it came in pretty hot, and that seems to be the sentiment here. Um, the game's received a lot of praise for the content of like combat, exploration, side
The
quests,
story.
the story. I saw IGN refer to it as like this is the Batman Arkham City to Fallen Order's Arkham Asylum.
Mm.
Um, I think the IGN review also said that like if they do one more of these, it's gonna be the best Star Wars trilogy in 30 years. I was like, damn, that's a line.
Wow.
Um, so the content is excellent. I don't think anybody's disputing that.
No. Yeah, I should have clarified at the beginning.
Yeah.
Lots of people are saying that the game is quality in terms of what you just said. It's just the out the door performance that is the issue.
Yes. So I'm pulling up the Steam page right now to get proper. Okay, as of right now on Steam, reviews mixed. I
Mhm.
would have to pull up Slack for this to see because I for work we are covering it. I think earlier today it was mostly negative. So the issue was in the reviewer period. A lot of people have talked about like um, Respawn was saying there's a day zero patch they are working on for press, which I think released on Wednesday or Thursday, and then there's a day one patch that is for everybody who picked the game up today. Now, the sentiment when the review embargo came up on Wednesday was like what we were just talking about. Game is great, performance. There's crashes. There's a lot of frame pacing problems. Frame rate isn't stable. Um, what you mentioned, like high end PCs not being able to hit 60 frames, and I don't think it's been long enough today to see if like the quantity of these issues being addressed across the board. Like I said, I don't have firsthand experience just yet, but
Mhm.
um, yeah, I genuinely thought that this wouldn't be a problem considering, you know, viewers, if you've been here since the beginning, just go back, what, 3 years ago, 4 years ago almost, uh, where Yumi and Jack sat down to talk about Fallen Order. And then me and Jack were like, dude, this game is tough, like performance wise on our PlayStations. And you're like, in PC land, living the high life, you know? So,
Yeah, yeah. It seems
happen
like the
again.
yeah. Oh, how the tables have turned, Christian. I mean, I kind of mixed about it because, like, in some respects, I'm sure that Respawn EA will like come up with patches over the next few days to update the game and sort of fix a lot of these issues that it's having. Um, Although I do think it is worth having the conversation about like the tendency for, these really big AAA games, really, highly anticipated AAA games coming out and just being not playable. And I think that that is kind of, I don't know, we've been seeing that too much recently, I think. It kind of like really got a lot of like headlines with like Cyberpunk maybe a few years ago, but like even recently with like Hogwarts Legacy and stuff, like it's become like a trend and kind of disappointing because you would think that like they would want to put out something that they're proud of, something that works.
Yeah, and
But
I'm
I
sure.
do understand. I do understand that like
Mhm.
it's likely not the developers' faults. Like they're probably just under a lot of crunch time and given a deadline that's kind of hard to meet, and so they have to do the best that they can. But it's just I don't know. It takes away from like the pizzazz of it all when it gets released and has all these issues.
Yeah, and I'm sure like they know better than anybody the state of the game, you know, because like they are the
Yeah.
ones who shipped it, and I know that they do not want they want their game to be the best it can be. I think the issue that you said, like it absolutely has popped up for the last decade, but like, you know, like lately it seems like specifically PC is getting the short end of the stick frequently. Um,
Would you
and
agree that Cyberpunk was kind of like the
I would
biggest example of that, like in some ways?
I would think so, yeah. I think like recently as well, there's been a stretch since like Gotham Knights, I think, where almost every other major AAA game has had launch issues performance wise. Um,
Mhm.
but I mean, I think another angle of it is as well, like this game was delayed once already, and there are, you know, investors who want numbers to be high by a certain point in the calendar fiscally. There are a vocal minority of gamers on the internet that will moan and like deface a company and send death threats if they delay a game they're looking forward to. So like whatever reason was the reason, the game had to come out today, and I'm sure they are not sleeping over this. Like I feel very bad for them that they have to deal with all of this because they're working on Star Wars and they have an incredible foundation with that first game, and I guarantee none of them are super happy with the reception that is just the state of it, you know.
Yeah.
And
Like I said, oh, sorry.
I was just gonna add on. They also released a statement this afternoon. I don't know if you wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, do you have it pulled up or should I pull it up? Because the one that
I can pull it up. Say what you were gonna say, and then I'll.
Yeah, I think it's just really important for like us consumers to realize that there are powers that be that, even the developers of the game don't have control over, right? Like I'm sure that if it were up to Respawn completely and they had unilateral decision making, they'd probably be like, yeah, we need to push the release date of this. We need to delay because it's not ready. But like you said, they're, you know, Mickey Mouse, he wants that money, man. Like and EA does, and there are a lot of stakeholders. So um, just if you're listening to this and you are one of those people who like would send death threats to developers for having to for releasing a subpar game or having to delay it, then you got to reconsider, man, because that's some whack crap. It's just a video game. And I think that honestly we'd all be better off if like developers, companies in general felt comfortable with making those hard decisions of
Mhm.
okay, this is just not ready yet. I would rather that. I so would rather that.
Mike, I fully agree, and I think that gamers as a concept have this like entitlement to everything, and like with the game specifically, it's this very weird cross section, more so than movies or TV, that it is like it is art, but it's also a product that has practicality and a function.
Hmm.
And I think that is such a complex relationship for a piece of media to have with its audience. And I'm going to say it. I don't think gamers have that universal complexity to understand that. Like I think
Oh,
there is this idea that there's a certain imaginary bar that a lot of them have that it has to tick all of these boxes or it's not even worth my time, which is why I've also seen a lot of people like calling out a lot of the reviews for this where it's like, oh, how could you give this thing a 9 when it is really bad for this sect of gaming like players, right? Like these people with the 4090 PCs can't get 60 frames. How is that a 9? It's like, well, there's nuance here where
yeah.
across the board this game is an improvement over its last game, which was also technically having some issues, which is a problem, but you can acknowledge that that's a problem and be like, well, it still runs, which is like the bare minimum. Um, it runs, it is playable, and it is a strong follow up in nearly every single angle you can look at it. So like on that angle, it's a very tricky conversation that again, I think like we're talking into the internet. A lot of people don't have the capacity for nuance with these things,
Yeah,
but
unfortunately.
that's just kind of how it is, you know? Like I want this to be better. Am I gonna have fun playing it tonight? Probably, you know?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like I don't want to sound like too negative because at the same time, like all the good things that people are saying about this game, they sound great. They sound awesome.
Yeah.
Like it does sound like an improvement
Mhm.
over Fallen Order, which was not, kind of a tall task because Fallen
Yeah.
Order was pretty awesome.
Mhm.
So that makes me really excited. At the end of the day, I really just kind of want like a playable game
Mhm.
that is immersive that tells a good Star Wars story, and if it does that,
Yeah.
then I'll be happy. So
Mhm. I mean, I'm one of these simpletons, Mike, that can still play games at 30 frames per second and not have a problem with it. So even if it was that, I'd
Me
be
too.
cool, you know?
Same, bro. I like that's the thing. Like I was having issues. Like I was having issues with Hogwarts Legacy, for instance.
Hmm.
Did I go on the computer and whine about it and like send death threats and like be an idiot? Nah, I just like turned down the settings. Like until it was like somewhat playable. Like I don't know.
Yeah, man, because like when it comes to performance, I think, especially recently, I've noticed like a lot of, and again, not every single person who enjoys video games does this, you know, like you can still be a decent person, and it is completely okay to be disappointed in this. I
Yeah,
am,
yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
because I
I mean,
really,
there's a level that I am also disappointed in it,
yeah,
but it's just like,
because I really thought they wouldn't do this twice, but at the same thing, it's like there are people who are like, if a game reuses assets, or if a game is like not native 4K, that's a problem. But if a game has to make those sacrifices to be able to run well, then it's still a problem because it's not living up to what it even was close to being before. Like it's this thing where it's like you can't really get a good sense of it with like the back and forth of what game development takes really, again in internet conversations, but there is a disappointment here. It's warranted. And the statement
Mhm.
that went up today was from the Star Wars Jedi team. They uploaded it to at EA Star Wars on Twitter. They said, "We are aware that Star Wars Jedi Survivor isn't performing to our standards for a percentage of our PC players, in particular those with high-end machines and certain specific configurations. For example, players using cutting-edge multi-threaded chipsets designed for Windows 11 were encountering problems on Windows 10, or high-end GPUs coupled with lower-performing CPUs also saw unexpected frame loss. Rest assured, we are working to address these cases quickly. While there is no simple, comprehensive solution for PC performance, the team has been working on fixes we believe will improve performance across a spectrum of configurations. We are committed to fixing these issues as soon as possible, but each patch requires significant testing to ensure that we don't introduce new problems. Thanks for understanding, and apologies to any of our players experiencing these issues. We will continue to monitor performance across all platforms and share update timing as soon as it is available." The Star Wars Jedi team. Again, this is specifically talking about PC. I haven't seen PlayStation 5 or Xbox firsthand. But yeah, word on the street is they are also struggling in some areas, consistency wise.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hopefully a lot of this stuff can just be, uh, rectified,
Yeah.
within the next few days with some updates and some patches. That's really all we can hope for at this point. I think the positive news is that we got Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and that's freaking awesome. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's out. We will be playing it. We will be talking about it.
Yeah.
Um,
Very excited to start it. I'm going back and forth because again, like I said, I'm like prepping some moving stuff. I'm kind of busy. I don't know if I should like play on a lower difficulty and just blitz the story, or if I should just save the side stuff for later this year and then just like really experiment with all the new stuff later. I haven't decided yet, but I'm just excited to start it.
yeah, man, it's gonna be an experience. At least if it's anything like Fallen Order, it'll be a great experience.
Heck yeah.
Um, so yeah, hopefully if you're playing it out there, you're having a good time. Um,
Yeah, that's worth noting as well. I think the overwhelming majority of people who like don't really know much about games are like, "Oh, it looks a little fuzzy," and they'll still play it and they'll have fun. You know, like
yeah,
that's
I
kind of
mean,
how these things go.
yeah, I mean, like not every consumer is like dialed into the point where like you are and I am even to that matter.
Yeah,
So
like there's 125 million PS4s. At least 80 million do not know what the word frame rate means. Like that's just how this works.
yeah, that's true. It's hard to like separate yourself from that when you
It
like
is. It
do
is. It
think
is. It
about.
is hard. Yeah.
But yeah, you're totally right. I mean, I think this is literally day zero of the game coming out. So give it time. People you know, 3 years from now, I'm sure people will be singing Jedi Survivor's praises, right? So
Yeah.
whatever. Uh, Anyways, moving on from that, let's talk about some more video games. Fortnite, remember that? No, just kidding. Who, you know, still very popular, I guess. Uh, Anakin Skywalker coming to Fortnite for May 4th. Is that
Yeah.
correct? They released a cool photo of Anakin with his Revenge of the Sith outfit on. He's you know, has his blue lightsaber ignited. He's lifting some rocks. There are three Venators above him in the sky.
Hmm.
Looks pretty cool.
Yeah, so I don't know if this is confirmed or if these are just rumors, but it sounds like they're also adding like a bunch of force powers to the game for a limited time.
Hmm,
Um, Clone troopers might be coming to the shop as well, alongside Anakin. Um, because
cool.
they haven't messed with prequel stuff yet. Like Obi-Wan from the series is in is in Fortnite, and we got like the sequel era stuff in Mando, but from my memory, there's no prequel trilogy Clone Wars stuff in Fortnite just yet.
That so I guess, you know, Anakin would be the first one.
Hmm. I'm
I,
sure
he
Ahsoka is
looks
going to come later this year with a show.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure. He looks pretty cool. Is it just going to be like a, you know, do you know if it's just going to be a purchasable skin, or I guess, or is you said that there was like gonna be force powers added to the game for a limited time. Is there gonna be like a specific game mode or anything like that? Because I remember back when Infinity War came out.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm that old.
Yeah,
Uh, they had like the Thanos thing
right.
in in Fortnite, and like it was a whole different like game mode and everything like that. So
Hmm.
I don't know if they do. I don't know if they do that anymore. I'm kind of out of the Fortnite game.
So they've definitely done that in the past, but I think with the recent crossovers they've done, like with the anime crossovers they've had, like Dragon Ball, what they do is like they create an explorable map that is like based off of a location from the series, and then you can also play as the character in just the battle royale mode. They'll add like an item that you can use. In the past, like Spider Man was in there, and then they put the Spidey web slingers on the map as just a tool you could use in the regular battle royale. So they've added lightsabers in the past to battle royale as just like pickups on the map. So I imagine the force power is also going to be something like that, where it's in every mode for as long as this event is going on. Um, and yeah, I mean, I think it's cool. I don't play Fortnite as much as I have in the past these days, but I'll definitely come back for this, especially if they're adding like some cool weapons, like new force abilities and stuff to pick up. So
Oh yeah. I really haven't played Fortnite in like forever, and I don't think I'm ever gonna go back personally.
genuinely, Mike, with the no build mode, I think it is a fantastic video game.
Now, is that like what you primarily play?
Yes, that is the overwhelming, like that is Fortnite. The building is not Fortnite anymore. It is the no build mode.
Really? Because it's for me at least, I've always associated Fortnite with building. You know, like that was like what made Fortnite unique.
Yeah, and then they took it out and the game became so much better.
Yeah, well, I'm saying that's true because a
Yeah.
lot of people just yeah, I would just get wrecked by like 13-year-olds who just did nothing but play Fortnite all day and
Yeah, like
learn how to build.
yeah, now it's like time to kill matters. Your like analysis of an engagement matters because it's not like you have a extra second you can grab by putting a wall up, like it is how you respond to an encounter that's what decides it. So,
Interesting. Interesting.
yeah.
I assume that the build mode still exists though
It still
for
exists.
those.
You can still play it. I have no idea if it's popular.
Interesting.
I think even like loading into it, it might default to no build. I'm not
I mean,
sure.
like, okay, but like, now this is getting really in the weeds, but like, the OG like Fortnite streamers, right? do they play on the build mode? I would assume so, right?
I don't
Or
know.
like I'm just thinking like I guess there's no one size fits all answer here, but like Ninja. I don't even know if he like plays Fortnite as much anymore, but like would he play the no build mode or the build mode? Probably the build mode, right?
I don't know. Oh, I just looked up. Does Ninja play no build? And then more to ask on Google. Why did Ninja stop playing build mode?
Interesting. So maybe he doesn't.
Yeah, I'm so far out of the streamer esport conversation that I wouldn't be surprised if all of them moved on to like Warzone because I know that's like way more popular for Twitch.
Yeah, I'm sure that they've all kind of moved on from
Yeah,
Fortnite, except for select a few of them.
yeah. But genuinely, if the mode seems cool, load in for a no build because it with how Fortnite feels to play and like the tone of it when you play it, it is like memey at times, but the way like the fun factor out of it is close to something like what OG Battlefront 2 was in terms of just ridiculous stuff happening. And instead of just being Star Wars, it's like, yeah, I can be Boba Fett, but also Batman just ran by and shot John Wick and Tom Brady in the face. So
Yeah,
like,
yeah, so true.
it's pretty cool. So like, if it interests you Star Wars fans, whatever mode this is, might be a fun way to sort of have a surrogate Battlefront experience in 2023. I don't
Oh
know.
my God, yeah, Fortnite's the new Battlefront, man. Well, yeah. If anyone's gonna play that, Christian, if you're gonna play it, maybe I'll jump in. Let me know.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
It's good. Um, Speaking of video games, Lego Skywalker Saga, that game rules. We'll be adding Luke Starkiller on May the 4th. That will be free. Um, Luke Starkiller. Isn't that like what Skywalker was before George Lucas changed it?
Yeah, so the speculation is that this is going to be based off the Ralph McQuarrie art, of like
Yeah.
Vader with the cool helmet, lightsaber, and then the other guy's hunched over. That's Luke Starkiller. He's got like the tube breathing apparatus stuff.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, so that's cool.
Interesting. So it's a rumor or is it like confirmed?
So I believe this is confirmed that they are adding Luke Starkiller for free next week.
Interesting. I wonder, did they show what he looks like?
I couldn't find an image.
Very interesting.
Yeah. I mean, when's the last time you played Skywalker Saga? Did you beat all the stories, right?
Yeah, dude, I beat all the stories. I didn't do like all of the side missions, but I did a fair amount of them. I have like I have like an insane amount of studs, like a ridiculous amount of studs. Just from like you can buy like the multipliers and
Yeah.
whatever. Um so yeah, I got like maxed out on that. I don't know. I jump into it every so often. I bought it on Switch, which was like a really good idea, and I don't regret that at all.
Nice.
But yeah.
Yeah,
Have you played it recently?
I haven't. I think I've mentioned this to you before, but like I when I got my PS5, I put the PS4 disc in because it's a free upgrade, and I was like, oh sweet, I can just get this to like run a little bit nicer and look a little bit nicer. But and this was after I put like 18 hours into doing side activities in episode 1. And it was like, yeah, so you can't transfer your save. And I was like, all right.
That's annoying.
And I haven't played it since. I'm still in episode 2.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I would recommend trying it again.
I will.
It's a great time.
Yeah. I'll get over the I don't even know what the benefit of playing it the PS5 version is, but I'll probably just pick up the PS4 save at this point eventually if I'm feeling it.
I have to say though, the sequel trilogy is just not as good as the other ones.
Mm.
That was my experience at least. I just like didn't have as fun of a time playing that part.
Yeah. And It's also interesting. I know this is just a character they're adding, but like interesting that there's any support because there were those rumors a couple weeks ago that they canceled a Mandalorian story expansion for the game.
Right.
So
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they're doing with this,
I
to
don't
be
either.
honest.
I don't either.
I mean, we were just talking earlier too before we started recording. It's already like 20, $15 like discounted,
Yeah.
which is like pretty crazy.
Yeah.
That's a pretty steep discount, but it has been out for a year ish, so I
Yeah.
kind of get it. But like at the same time, that seems a little extreme to me.
Yeah. I mean, hey, at that point though, I did see it was on sale on Switch because I have PlayStation. And I was like, oh, maybe I double dip,
Yeah.
but I can't do that.
It's on yeah, it's on Xbox Game Pass, which
Oh
I
wow,
have. Do you have that?
I do. Yeah, great deal.
Great deal. Um, all right, let's move away from some of the video game news, shall we? Let's talk about movies, Star Wars movies. It's where it all began, folks. Um, Damon Lindelof, yes, the Lost guy, the Watchmen guy, the Leftovers guy. He was gonna, write, maybe direct a Star Wars movie. And he was interviewed by Esquire and said that he was actually asked to depart the Rey movie. So he said I joined the Star Wars universe and was asked to leave. He previously told Variety that his act script was a true labor of love. That there would still be a new film, but unfortunately not with him. He said during his Esquire interview, quote, "Will I get back in line outside of the club and try to get back in again? Absolutely." Uh, it says, it kind of editorializes, says that Star Wars was Lindelof's first film that he ever saw in theaters. He's still in love with the storytelling, and he said, "quote If at first you don't succeed, try and try again, or again try," as Yoda would say, which is funny. But I'm pretty sure he said,
Yeah.
"Do or do not. There is no try." Anyways,
I did see somebody call out that on Twitter, being like, "Does this man understand Yoda?" It's
yeah,
like
like
he's just making a joke, but like, yeah.
yeah.
Um,
I kind of saw that though, and I was like, I don't think he would say to try at all.
yeah, yeah. What's interesting though, this is unconfirmed. This is just some rumors, right, about what the story he was writing where it was. I don't know if you heard any of this stuff, but the rumor was what he was writing was a story about an elderly Rey training two Jedi, a man and a woman, and the man was going to be played by Yahya Abdul Mateen II, he's Dr. Manhattan in the Watchmen series,
Yeah, yeah.
and he is the bad guy in Aquaman 1. One of the bad guys. There's like 3 in that movie. But I think he's great. That would have been really cool if he was a Jedi. But yeah, they moved on from that. And elderly Rey, that's a choice.
Yeah, that would be a choice. I guess they would have to they'd have to recast, right, for something like that, right?
I guess, or just like super. What I mean, it worked so well in the Deathly Hallows, when they put the prosthetics on Daniel
Oh,
Radcliffe.
right.
But
Yeah, he didn't look very good.
no, he did not. Oh, I mean, like also like the digital de-aging tech has come so far. So like, I wonder what aging tech does. Have we seen that lately? Like an
Aging
actor
tech?
digitally aged up?
Well, yeah, they did that to Chris Evans, didn't they? In Avengers.
I think that was makeup.
Oh, that was makeup.
Yeah, because I don't know if you've seen this, but there's a video of him on set, like throwing a football and doing like some like footwork as the old
Oh my
man,
God,
old
that's
Joe.
funny. Old Steve Rogers.
Yeah.
Um, Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that if they could do it one way, they could do it the other way. It's just that the other way is more useful.
Yeah, but as
Do
far
you think?
as oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, if he was working on a Ray movie, do you think that maybe they took some elements of that for this other Ray movie that they're planning?
So, from my understanding, he was writing the script for this movie, and I imagine like just the direction he was going with this. Again, this is alleged rumors about what the story was. Um, Probably wanted to shift direction to make it closer to episode 9 Ray that we know and not Grandma Ray, you know?
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, maybe some elements are similar.
Sure, like we talked about it a lot last week. I think there's a very real chance that we could see like Finn at the end of his training in this movie,
Mm.
or her training uh Poe's daughter or something like that. So I think Ray will have an apprentice in this movie, like for sure.
Oh, it's Finn.
That'd be cool.
Do you think that maybe he'll have a chance to come back sometime in the future? I think it's good that he's not entirely like counting it out. That he said that he wants to try again at some point. I think that's good. Consistency. Staying on top of it. I think is a positive.
Yeah, my thought process there though is that it won't because of this. Like I don't think he'll come back
Mm,
because it sounds like he was really into the idea and he
yeah,
wants to come back. Does Lucasfilm want that? Like I don't know.
that's fair. Yeah, it's hard to say.
Like maybe
Um,
not this project, because this seems like it is basically episode 10 and all but name. So maybe for some weird thing like what James Mangold is getting, but I don't know.
yeah, that's actually a really good point. It's hard to say.
Yeah. Do you think he'd come back? I know you're a fan of Lost, right?
Yeah, I mean, I watched a little bit of Lost, and I admittedly like never finished it or anything like that. I do like it though.
Yeah.
I love the Watchmen series. I hope that he does come back because I think that he is a great mind.
Hmm.
Um, but you know, there are a lot of great minds out there, and if one thing's taught me about being a Star Wars fan is to not get too attached to something before we know that it's going to be released. So I can only say that like you know, hopes that he does come back, but I'm not like holding my breath for it.
Fair enough. That's the smart thing to do, probably.
Yeah. I think I've just been burned one too many times, Christian. You know.
Yeah, that's valid.
Speaking of movies, though, talking about the so-called episode 10, that's not actually episode 10, but kind of is episode 10. Uh, Via the Hot Mic podcast, John Roca said, quote, a couple different sources say Boyega is back for the 2025 film. Um, that would be cool. I think we talked about this last week when we were doing our celebration roundup,
Hmm.
but John Boyega finally being able to sort of take on that role that we all saw coming in the original sequel trilogy of being a Jedi. I think it's something he deserves. I think it's something the character deserves, quite frankly, Finn. So I hope that he does come back for this movie, and I hope that he is given that opportunity to shine.
I agree. I mean, we are clearly in favor of this, rooting for this. Um, I don't know. I'm familiar with John Roca's name. I don't know what his track record is, but I mean, people were super correct about the celebration news, so I'm willing to listen and believe stuff at this point. Also, it makes sense, like
Yeah,
initially post Rise of Skywalker, John Boyega was pretty like over Disney, over all this stuff, still a fan of Star Wars, but like not.
yeah. When he gave that like really, he gave like a really nasty interview. Do you remember that?
Yeah. warranted, and there was the one where he was like,
no, yeah, warranted. No, I didn't mean it in a
yeah,
bad way. Yeah.
where he was saying like, "You're not gonna put me on Disney Plus." Remember that?
Yes, I do.
That one I still think about. That's a funny interview, or a funny response. Um, yeah, and I think in recent years he's seemed to like warm up. I think there was like a GQ interview a year or two ago where he seemed like more open to it about. He's like, oh well, if it's Oscar and Daisy and JJ, and then it seems like he's like been trimming the necessities for his return as time has gone on.
Yeah, I mean, like, especially with something like this, I feel like it would be kind of silly for him to say like, I don't want to, you know.
Yeah. Do you think?
But I would understand if he didn't want to.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you think Oscar Isaac comes back and is his deal breaker? Like, if I come back, I have to be married to Finn.
I hope so. I really hope so. That would be funny.
Yeah. Dude was scorned because that didn't happen. You can tell anytime he talks about it, he's like, oh, yeah, we tried to work some stuff in, but you know.
No, I always thought that was really funny that like both of them were just like trying for that to happen.
Yeah.
Like both John and Oscar were like, yeah, we want to be together romantically in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Disney, man, they just didn't let it happen.
That's what I'm saying. If Oscar, or if he's not in the movie, but Poe's child is, and that's the like the audience intro to Jedi Master Ray, it's like we probably know what he asked for and what they said.
Yeah, right.
But I hope I would love to see him come back. I'm already super excited for this movie. That would just add to it.
I agree, totally. And finally, let's talk about some TV, shall we?
Sure.
So we're fresh off the heels of Mandalorian season 3. Tamora Morrison has been talking to the media. I guess he said this at a Comic-Con and gaming convention, but he was waiting for a call to be in Mandalorian season 3, but the call just never came. During a Q&A panel at Supernova Comic-Con and gaming convention in Melbourne, Australia. He said, quote, I think there are a few changes going on. We also come under the big umbrella known as Disney now, too. So it's one of the last few conversations we had in LA. The conversation started like, oh, look, we're having a few changes. We're having a few cutbacks. And when you hear that at the other end of the line, it's no good trying to negotiate any more money. That's for sure. So let's see what happens. Interesting. How do you take that, Christian?
So let's lay this out first. You and I enjoyed Boba Fett for what it was, right?
Yeah.
I think there are some great things about that show.
I wish it didn't do some things. But, you know.
Fair, but I think there are some great things about that show. Specifically, I really enjoy this sort of like reflective Boba Fett, you know, like one who's like trying to kind of find himself, but also find a way to like benefit what he's fought his like young life for as a bounty hunter, right?
Sure.
Like I like that perspective for this character, and I know he has been vocal about wanting to get a little more of the grit back, which I think is there's completely room to do that with him because it's Boba Fett. He's been villainous in the past. The fact that he wasn't in Mandalorian season 3 is mind-blowing to me. Especially because I don't think this was included in the quote that I pulled, but like he talked about how the Mandalorian is sort of like the big push now, and I'm paraphrasing, but he was like, maybe the focus is just shifted to him where it was Boba Fett before, and he's been happy to be part of all this stuff, but like he's like, when I saw that he came in for 2 of my episodes of Boba Fett, you know, he was like, I didn't know how to feel about that. So the fact that he didn't even get a cameo in season 3 is shocking, because I think before season 3 started, you and I were constantly talking about like gotta be cool to see Boba Fett, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, I thought it was honestly kind of a given.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that we would definitely see him, but he just never showed up.
Yeah, which sucks because like in what world, Mike? It's okay, time to make cutbacks. Let's start with Boba Fett. Like,
Yeah.
really? I know you and I, again, historically, before the last few years, thought Boba Fett was just kind of weak sauce, but like, he's he's iconic at the very least, you know? And
Yeah, he's Boba Fett, dude. Like,
yeah.
let's be real here for a second.
Yeah, and I think outside of the character as well, like, it feels super disrespectful to Tamara Morrison because, like, man has a key role in every single era of Star Wars. Like, Django and all the clones in the prequels. He eventually dubbed Boba Fett for the special editions in, like, the original trilogy. And in the Disney era, he has a show. He's super important to season 2 of The Mandalorian, at least. So, like, that's crazy that they start with him if they're making cuts.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like the right move to me.
I mean, hey, we've also seen even Obi-Wan can't warrant a second season, you know? Like, that's something else to consider.
Yeah, no, you're totally right.
But do you think he like is involved with any upcoming projects, or like is it going to be a while before we see Tamara Morrison in Star Wars again, do you think?
Um, I, you know what? I don't think he's going forever. I think that would kind of be a little dumb on Disney's part.
Yeah.
I feel like they relied a lot on him in the early days of like Disney Plus and all that kind of stuff. So I think that he's going to show up. Like I could see him like having a cameo in like Dave Filoni's movie or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe he shows up in Ahsoka or something somehow. But I don't think he's gonna have like a major part. I think they may use him too for like any clones that they might do in live action.
Sure.
But I don't think he's gonna have as like focused of a role as he did before.
Yeah, which is a bummer. I really think they could have done something with the second season of Boba Fett.
I wish they could too.
Yeah. Because then, like, again, for all the issues that popped up with that show, I really like Fennec too. And they're, like, tight. So, like, if one shows up, the other's going to show up. So, like, does that mean that we're probably not going to get Fennec and stuff lately too? Like, I think you're right. They'll probably both be used in the Filoni movie. Like, if by some wild chance Luke Skywalker is not one of the main draws of that movie, if they need a big like jaw-dropping theater pop, leave a little gap in the actual film for some applause moment, you could use Boba Fett there, right?
Yeah, definitely. He could just show up and everybody would be like, "Oh my god, it's Boba Fett."
Yeah, him and Fennec like drop down into the street when like Din and Ahsoka are like backed into a corner, and it's like, yeah, let's go, and he's just like shoots the fucking everything, you know, like.
Yeah, you got like I don't know, you got like that Robert Rodriguez guitar come in or something like that.
Yeah, the Dutch angles, like, because that's kind of what they did with when he blew up the Empire ships in Mando, right? Where he just showed up and like blew up a ton of stuff in that episode that was 20 minutes long.
Yeah. I mean, like he follows Mando to that
Yeah.
place, and then he's just like, surprise.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see them doing that again. You know.
Yeah, I hope we get to see more of him. He's done so much for this franchise.
He has. He deserves all of our respect.
Yeah.
Well, I think that comes to the end of the doc here, Christian. Is there anything else that you want to talk about? It's been a little bit of a shorter episode for sure, but
I'll
we
shout
are
out. There was a fun little feature that came out this week that I forgot to bring up with the Fallen Order, or sorry, the Survivor talk. I think you saw this. I think we discussed it, but Mark Hamill did a fun little promo with Cameron Monaghan.
Oh, yeah. So
That was pretty
fun.
great. It was the two of them like on the sound stage that they motion capture the game for, and like Cameron was in the ping pong ball suit, and Mark was instructing him on like technique and like how to be a Jedi and stuff. And then it was very cute in the end. Like Cameron was like, "Oh, you press this button to use the Force," you know. So like he was like showing Mark how to be a game Jedi. Like it was cute. I liked it.
I liked how he was like, "You don't need to tell me how to like use the Force," or something like that.
I saw somebody clip that out as a GIF, being like, "This is going to be a great reaction for Star Wars Twitter. You don't need to tell me how the Force works."
Yeah, no, perfect. So perfect.
Yeah, that's so good. And you know, a lot of people, we've talked about this at length. When is Cameron Monaghan going to be in a live action Star Wars thing?
Yeah, I think we've talked about this a lot. It's, it's one of those things that, they're gonna let Respawn do their thing, I think, with the character. They're gonna tell another story. They're gonna tell another story, complete a trilogy, and then probably hand the character off to Disney and say, "Do what you want now." That is if he doesn't die. But, there's always like you could do some things in them in between era while he's still alive. So it's only a matter of time till Cameron Monaghan actually makes it to live action, because he is a live action performer.
Yes,
and he would do awesome. Like, it would be awesome to see Cal Kestis like that, and we will. I think people just need to be patient.
If he makes it out of a third game, which I'm betting he will because of how beloved the Respawn stories are, I genuinely think. Well, I guess that would be too early if this is 2025, because there's no way that the third game comes out by then. I was gonna say it would make so much sense for him to be like at Rey's new academy, like as a teacher. But I don't know. That's a quick turnaround. But yeah, I think you're right. Eventually we'll get something, even if it's like a series, or maybe he shows up in the Filoni movie.
Yeah, very possible.
Maybe that's it. I don't know. But looking forward to it.
Me too. Well, Christian, we'll be back next week. Next week, it'll either be, May 4th or 5th, and we'll be able to talk about that, which will be good. I'm excited to play Jedi Survivor.
Me too.
I'm excited to talk about it. Why don't you take us out to sea, Christian?
Sure thing, Mike. Where can you listeners find you?
You can follow me on Twitter at Mike P. Connors.
You can find me on Twitter and TikTok at Chun2D2. You can find the show on youtube.com/joyclicks for the video version. You can find it on your favorite podcast service like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play. Wherever you get your podcasts, just look up Jedi Knights. That is Jedi Knights without a K. You can look up Joyclicks as well, and you will find it. Leaving a star rating or review takes a couple seconds if you enjoy. Quick tap of your screen helps us reach more people, helps the show grow. If you want to support the shows monetarily, you can go to patreon.com/joyclicks and see what is on the shelf there. Get producer credit on this show and every show we do at the $5 tier. And that is Jedi Knights for the week. In the meantime, enjoy Jedi Survivor. Happy early May the 4th be with you. And until then, we're fine. Everything's fine. How are you?
May the Force be with you.
Oh, yes, you're right. Beep is up.